Hey guys, Mr. Marshall here. This file is to get you organized for Civilization Week. And to get you ready for Civilization Week, I thought I would take you through our year in social studies in a flash. We'll do a quick summary of what we learned this year through our assignments, and this should give you some ideas about Civilization Week. A reminder, you can look up anything we did this year on the Grade 7 Social Studies Hub. The first thing to think about for Civilization Week is defining civilization. What is a civilization? And some of the key points are listed here on this slide when we looked at it at the start of the year. One of the big points we talked about was something called the agricultural surplus, where there's abundance of food sources. We figured out pretty quickly that that was pretty important to the development of any civilization anywhere. And you can see the other characteristics of a civilization. So a good place to start is thinking about what civilization means. First unit we did in the fall was Mesopotamia, and this map shows those two very important rivers. And we thought right away about the physical environment of Mesopotamia, and that was a big theme all year long. How does the physical environment influence the development of a civilization? We looked at those two rivers in Mesopotamia, the Euphrates River and the Tigris River. And we focused on the floodplain and how that was a place where the Mesopotamians could grow crops. Our first essay got to that idea about the influence of geography when you looked at the Tigris and Euphrates River. And we also talked about the relationship between water and a modern civilization. And that was a big focus all year long about how water is a big, important influence in any civilization. Go anywhere in the world where a civilization has been in place, and undoubtedly you're going to find water. Then we moved on to a writing system in a civilization, and we focused on Sumerian cuneiform. The essay that we worked on at that time was thinking about Sumerian cuneiform, also the concept of how does improved communication develop a civilization, and then we just looked at modern communication, the problems, the advantages, the pluses and the minuses. The next activity we did was the Sumerian God application cover letter. And what was behind that was for you to learn about religious roles in a place like Sumer and how gods and goddesses were a major part of the society and how they represented gaps in knowledge and how the people believed in gods and goddesses for different reasons and the role that they played in civilization. We finished up the Mesopotamia module, number 4, with a letter to the editor about King Hammurabi, and the key learning activity that came out of this session was to think about a legacy, what was left behind for future generations. And we got you to develop an argument about whether you thought King Hammurabi had a positive or negative legacy. We moved on to Egypt in the second term. Many of you did not like this comic. The first essay was talking about the physical environment comparing Egypt and Mesopotamia. So we were focusing on the importance of how an environment can really sustain, develop, or take away from a civilization. Then we looked at Egyptian culture and what role did religion play in Egyptian society. So we're talking about religion again in another society, and we know how important it was to the Egyptians. We moved on to something called the Pharaoh obituary, where you did some research about a Pharaoh obituary and drew some of those fabulous sketches that you guys had up. Looked really great. And we looked at the different aspects of what Egyptian religion was like. In third term, we focused on Greece. Our first essay, again, was about how geography influences the development of a civilization. I guess you can tell by now the importance of geography, what a physical environment does to a civilization. It's important today as well. Go across the world and look at how geography influences all civilizations everywhere. We moved on to the Agora poster, which was a super activity that you guys did. I was really impressed. We focused on the Agora of Athens and very closely on the Stoa. And we took some time and thought about goods, services, and commodities when you drew your Agora poster. And we were trying to get at understanding the economy of ancient Greece in a place like Athens. We finished up the school year by looking at some famous quotes by the famous philosophers of Socrates and Plato to see if those words said thousands of years ago still make sense today. It has to do a lot with the culture of society, when there are people thinking about key concepts, when there are mathematicians trying to figure out math problems, philosophers, astronomers, different kinds of scientists. So the idea is to think about different jobs that people have in a society. One thing I'll finish with that you might enjoy watching is an interesting documentary called Guns, Germs, and Steel. It's worth watching in preparation for Civilization Week. You can just watch it and see what you get out of it. And you can go to that link there at YouTube to watch it. Have a great Civilization Week, guys.